A to Z Sports posted 4 Cincinnati Bengals who could quickly become everyone's training camp darling. And I'll be honest with you, this is a very loaded question because there's a lot of players that could make the criteria. And I think the number one player, the one player that everyone, if he starts playing good and looking good and doing well in training camp, everyone is going to be excited for him, is Matt Lee. I think Matt Lee has the potential to be the Bengals fans' favorite rookie automatically if he starts playing good. Because we expect a lot from Jermaine Burton, right? We expect a lot from a lot of these rookies. Matt Lee is kind of in that ballpark range of what Yoshi was last year, where it's like, okay, is this guy going to be that good? What can we expect from him? Maybe, if he does anything good, we'll be happy. Plus the fact that we need offensive linemen and we need a competition battle with Cordell Volson, or potentially, if he can be good enough, make him center and move Teddy K to left guard where he was in New England. That would be number one on my list of players who, if they look good in training camp, look good in preseason, they could become the darling of the team right away. Matt Lee's number one. Number two, again, like I said, this is a very loaded question. There's a lot of players who could make this and really start becoming the darling. I guess if I'm going to look at a non-rookie, let me think of a non-rookie player. A non-rookie player who could become a darling. See, I was thinking about defensive line, but I don't really think defensive line could. Joseph Asai could potentially, if he looks really good in training camp and free agency. He's another guy who could look really, start to get a lot of talk and buzz if he does go out there and perform at a very high level, especially because, again, he has the potential to be great. He has the potential to play at a very high level. We just need him to get everything together and kind of work everything out perfectly. Number three I thought about is Eric Miller. Eric Miller is our undrafted, I believe, left tackle who could also play right tackle. He's another guy who, again, if he can get his stuff together, start looking good, and really start performing well, he could at least get the backup left tackle spot, which right now is between Cody Ford and Jackson Carman. And I think a lot of people would rather have somebody new in there just because we know what we have with Cody Ford. We know what we have with Jackson Carman. Although Jackson Carman, I wanted to stress this enough, is actually really good at left tackle. But again, like I said, he could be another guy. And my final guy, I will say, that could quickly become a training camp darling. See, it's like, the undrafted players, there's not many I really think are going to stand out too well. Like, I would say Rocky Lombardi, but he would be a practice squad quarterback anyway. And if he is, then he would just go back to the UFL because he got drafted to the UFL. So we would just go with Logan Woodside anyway. So outside of that, there's not many other players, to be honest. I mean, you could say, I think if there's one player, it would be a tight end. Tanner McLaughlin could become a training camp darling depending on how much he's utilized in the first team. It depends. With Eric All being out because he's recovering from his ACL tear, Tanner McLaughlin will get a lot more snaps and looks in training camp than he normally would have. So that potentially could be another player, again, like I said, that could have a lot of looks and potentially become a darling. So let's see what A to Z Sports says. Cole Burgess. I don't think a wide receiver could. I'll be honest with you. I mean, we're going to keep 6 wide receivers. I think that's kind of understood from most Bengals fans here. That, we have Jamar Chase, we have Trenton Irwin, we have T. Higgins, we have Yoshi, we have Chuck Sizzle, and we got Jermaine Burton. I think that's kind of understood for most people. I don't think most people are thinking that, well, what about these other receivers? I mean, we're trying out a, UFL player of the year. We talked about last night, Hakeem Butler. And he's going to compete with Cole Burgess's too. So I think that Cole Burgess, yeah, I mean, he could look good, but I don't think he's going to get to a point where, like, we're like, oh, this is the guy, because, again, like I said, we have so many great players above him, plus competing with him. So I don't really think that could be the guy that people really are all about. Yeah, Tanner McLaughlin is definitely a guy, again, I said before, with Eric All missing time, he could definitely get a lot of snaps. Myles Murphy, he is such a weird player. Here's what I'll say about it, right? Because he was a first-round pick, there's not much he can do to become a camp darling. Because anything he does that's considered good or above average, I feel like a lot of people are going to say, that's what we drafted him for. That's what we expect out of him. You know, and again, it would be very relieving to see him do good, but I don't think it's to a point where it's like, oh, you know, everyone is so excited about him and rallies behind him. That's more or less a player who either is a rookie, a player who we don't expect much of, or a player that, again, you know, is just really absolutely amazing right now. So I don't think Myles Murphy could do something good enough or play good enough that he would become a camp darling. Because we drafted him in the first round. And it's hard for a first round pick to really go out there and become a camp darling when you already expect so much high expectations from him and you expect him to do it. So if whatever he does, if he plays above average and good, because last year, again, he was ups and downs, but if he plays average or good in training camp, I think everyone's going to be like, well, we expected that. We expected him to do that. That's why we drafted him. So I don't think he can, in a way, get that idea. Anyway, and again, we expect him to. We expect him to overall wise. And then we have Anthony, which is obviously our free safety that we drafted in the 7th round this year. It's another interesting option as well. So he's interesting because of the fact our safety position, we do need another safety, potentially, depending on how we work with Tyson Anderson. So, again, like I said, another option that is available. I don't know how well he'll do and how well he'll be able to take over that role. But he is definitely a guy, kind of like Poison Ivy. I think I've seen him in the same kind of concept that's Poison Ivy last year in training camp and preseason, where it's like if you saw it's picking up some traction, saw it's looking good, you know, we have more safeties as rotation, which again just takes away more from the wide receiver position. So I don't think we carry 7 receivers, but if Anthony does good, that's going to make it so that Burgess or whoever the 7th receiver would be is not going to make the roster. So tell me down below your thoughts and opinions, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.